And with me tonight is Kenneth Mejia, who is running in the 34th California District for the Green Party. And this is a special election. It's April 4th. And he has stepped up. Why are you doing this? Why are you going into the belly of the beast?
The people in Los Angeles and the people all over, I think, the country are sort of ready for that change. And luckily, this election is an open election, so voters can vote for anyone, you know, regardless of their party or the party affiliation. So about me, personally, born and raised by a single mother who immigrated from the Philippines. I graduated college in 2.5 years with a bachelor's of science in accounting, and I received my certified public accounting license when I was 22 to practice public accounting, and I was an auditor for 3.5 years, basically auditing Fortune 500 companies, making sure their finances were correct. And I think that's very crucial right now, especially when we see the sort of inefficiencies and the wasteful spending that we have. And in addition to my professional experience, so I've been 6 years in finance, and then I'm also doing a community organizer, going every month out to help to feed the homeless in Skid Row, or doing community cleanups like cleaning up parks and whatnot. And so hopefully, you know, with those two combined with my social justice experience and then also professional experience, we could put that together and sort of give people a new option. If there's any place that could go green, it's going to be here in LA, and hopefully we break the two-party system here. The way it works is if whoever gets 50.01% in the primary on April 4th, they win it all. If no one gets 50.01%, we go to a runoff, top two. The opposition, the biggest one, his name is Jimmy Gomez. He's actually an assembly member in the state of California, and it's also part of our congressional district. So he's sort of the person that many of us are going to be competing against, most likely. And he's raised over like $300,000 already in 2 months. So.
See, so we need a little bit of that sane progressive fundraising magic. So the establishment candidate does not get in. Why are you running in the Green Party ticket? Were you in Dem last time? Tell us more about what your affinity is for the Green Party and what you agree with their platform.
I ran Democrat because I saw Bernie Sanders, like many of us, many who are even watching, we gave them a chance because we thought that, hey, maybe they could actually work in the people's interest, but that wasn't the case. You know, in our district, what's unique about our district is that we were the only district in Los Angeles County that won for Bernie Sanders. And our superdelegate voted against us and still voted for Hillary, which was messed up. But when you look at our district and why they voted for Bernie, it's because we have high levels of homelessness. We have Skid Row. That's like one of the most populated areas of homelessness in the world. We have people who are scared of getting deported. We have a huge Latino population, you know. We have so much wealth and income inequality, you know, in downtown Los Angeles. An apartment there costs $4,000 for a 1-bedroom, and it's literally 2 blocks away from Skid Row. So people are sort of fighting for that change, and that's sort of what we saw from Bernie. That's why we went through the Democratic way. But we left because I didn't want to vote for Hillary or Trump, and luckily there was someone like Jill Stein who sort of, once I found out about her and I actually read about her platform and what the Green Party platform was fighting for, I thought, you know what? They're actually fighting for things that are more democratic than the Democratic primary. And they actually have, Democratic Party, they actually have no corporate sponsors. They're a grassroots party, literally. You know, they're an eco-socialist party. So everything they do is basically, they recognize rights like healthcare, education, the environment, and housing, but also being cognizant about the environmental impacts. So I was like, this is great, you know, like you heard this with Bernie, but you realize, oh wait, he's doing it in the Democratic Party, and they're really getting money from fossil fuels, from Wall Street, so they're really not going to protect this. So I decided to go green, and LA County is actually one of the biggest areas where Jill Stein got a lot of votes in the entire population. So I'm proud to go green, and I'm proud that I'm not going to be held down by any party, by any donors, and I think that's really unique and that's really special. So that's why I went Dem, and that's why I left and Dem exited. So. Okay.
One of the things on Sane Progressive here is we're very, very concerned about the fraud in our election system. So my viewers, and this is what I'm asking all the candidates, if you see issues with the election, are you going to bring it up in real time? Are you going to challenge to make sure that you protect the vote in every way possible throughout the time, in the entire primary process?
Right, of course. I mean,
okay.
The way our electoral process is set up is for third parties to not win at all, and
right,
and having machine voting counts is sketchy too. You know, there was a case where I think in Baltimore where the hand counted, when they hand counted the actual ballots, it was different than what was on the machine.
That's
so
right.
You know, it's shady. There's a lot of shady stuff going on, and no one's challenging it because they think it's just business as usual.
If you could say what is the number one political problem that we are facing in this country right now, what would it be?
I would just say, I just say money in politics.
Money in politics.
Probably one of the biggest ones. I mean, if you could take money out of politics, we could literally solve poverty. We could literally solve gentrification, where people are getting kicked out of their houses. We could literally solve, you know, systemic crime, you know, on African Americans. We could literally do a lot of stuff if money and politics was gone, and that could literally help people. Like, the biggest one is it could help third parties, like people like me, win, because I can't compete against $400,000 raised by the establishment candidate, but I could win, though, if we have the people behind us. So it just goes to show, I had this realization, like, how the hell do people like me win an election? Like, I always sit before I sleep and I talk to myself, and I'm like, how does this person no one even knows about win an election, and they don't really talk to anybody? Then I realized they have hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they're doing TV ads, and they're doing mailers, and they have that money to get that out there. And it's just unfair, but, you know, we have the people. So if they could get that money out of politics and have public campaign financing, or I could have a level playing field, you know, our community could have a level playing field, I think that would help out a lot.
The money is awful, but the corruption is what has led to the situation with the money. All right, yeah, money in politics is absolutely huge, and it is making it so that it is very difficult for people to get the same amount of exposure, especially people who are only paying attention to the traditional type of ads. What has your experience been with campaigning? How have people been meeting you? You said you had a lot of people volunteering.
Right, so anyone who's thinking about running office or is 25, because you have to be 25 to run, it's really grassroots like, and I'm sort of thankful for social media in this day and age to sort of connect me to people. Like, I'm connecting with you right now, and we're talking to hundreds
It's amazing.
People. So
it is. It's great.
So this is how we're literally campaigning, especially if we have no money. This is how we're gonna win, and I'm proud to at least be sixth on a push pull by a consulting firm by another candidate. So this is how we're going to win this campaign, is grassroots organizing, literally. Congress has the power of the purse. So we get all the money. If we want to end homelessness tomorrow, we could. If we want to provide health care as a right, we could. If we want to provide a guaranteed job program, we could. Because we literally have the money to do it. And a lot of people are hung up on, but, you know, what about our deficit? It's like
balancing budgets and all that, right? Yeah.
Right, and it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. Like, we could pay that off if we wanted by creating fiat money. But what people need to understand is the way we could fund many of these proposals. Like, if you look at my platform, it's like it's the boldest proposal. It's canceling student debt. It's providing healthcare as a right. It's providing housing as a right. And we could literally fund all that through the power of the purse, you know, through the authorization of Treasury releasing the funds, you know, releasing bonds, and then the Federal Reserve buys those bonds literally. And we have unlimited amount of money since we're a sovereign country, monetary sovereign country. So I'm a huge fan of modern monetary theory, a huge fan of Stephanie Kelton, and I think if a lot of people in Congress were on board with this, to use the Fed for actually good work, we could get all this done. But a lot of people don't know that. And so I'm going to bust that out, like, in debates and forums, and I'm going to let people know, like, hey, we're getting cheated. You know, the one thing I would like to do, though, is tax the 1%. That's what I really because there's still a wealth and income inequality gap. So, but that's my view on modern monetary theory.
For electoral reform,
the Green Party, and I don't think any other candidate's going to push for this, but we want grassroots political democracy. We want it so everyone has a chance at the table. So we want ranked choice voting. We actually want to push for proportional representation, which is what a lot of other countries have, especially like in Europe, and even in some counties in the United States have proportional representation, where basically you vote at large candidates, and if they get, let's say the Green Party gets 10% of the vote, that doesn't mean they automatically lose. That means they get one seat, for example, out of like a 10-person seat. So we push for proportional representation. We push for voting by paper. And I don't care how long it takes to count those damn papers, but voting by paper is the only way to go, I feel like, because these machines can be hacked, and it's not trustworthy. National holidays on election days are big. One of the biggest, boldest things you want to do is like automatic voter registration and lower the voting age to 16. So those are just some things, we want to push for in electoral reform, and of course, open the elections and open the debates and get money out of politics are another thing. So yeah, all on the website for electoral reform.
Did you say that canceling student loan debt was on your platform?
Yeah, $1.3 trillion. It's write it off.
Very simple. Write it off. Okay, next.
It's nuts. Well, I mean, but that's exactly what we'd aim to do, though, like through Jill Stein's plan, because many of these are owned by banks, who buy them in bonds, and we should literally get the Fed to buy back these bonds that are charging students, 3 to 8 interest. And it's uncertain because like a lot of people can't pay for that, and a lot of people don't have jobs, so. Like, our platform is education as a right, and you shouldn't have to be stuck paying $1.3 trillion of debt. I think that's crazy, and it just keeps Los Angeles is doing so many boycotts on the weekends and so many rallies and protests. But it's not just rallies and protests where you go for an hour and expect, just take my picture, I'm doing something for the movement. No. We actually do educational sessions. 2 weeks ago, we held a Medicare for All rally, and we had like over 2,000 people there.
Wow, that's
huge. We were educating people on single payer, and then the weekend after that, last weekend, we had the No DAPL rally, and we had like over 3,000 people there at Pershing Square. So the movement's growing, and there's one thing I actually want to say about the divestment in Wells Fargo. One of the things that is magnificent is if you look at a city like Seattle, right? They were the first city to divest. They divested over, $3 billion from Wells Fargo. But they had a movement. They had a people movement down there, but also in a government capacity. They had Shama Sawant, who is a socialist.
Right.
And she was in that capacity to get her city council members, hey, like, look at this movement. Let's get out of there. And they won. They won that. And then another big example of how we need people in those government capacities is in the city of Davis. It's a Green Party mayor. It's awesome. Second city to divest from Wells Fargo, over $100 million. And he had a movement, but there was also someone in the movement, a part of a government capacity. And his name is Rob Davis. He's a Green Party mayor, and he was able, with him in the movement and his elected city council officials, were able to divest $100 million. And you sort of don't see this with the Democratic or Republican Party because they receive that money. So that's why I say, like, and you make the great point, like, even though I don't have career political experience, but if we have a movement below us, if we have that base, if we could put that pressure on when we get into that position, we could literally do anything. And we hope that if we win this one congressional seat, even though we're going to be 1 out of 435 representatives, we hope in the midterms in 2018 we take that majority, because this is going to be proof right here that truth to power can win, and that anybody could run for office no matter how old you are or whatever you have in your background. And yeah, so that's all I wanted to say about that protest and the divestment. It works if you have a movement. So
yeah, it's so good to hear somebody enthusiastic, and that's another thing that you get with the youth. The energy of youth is so vital. We need the millennials. We need people,
I know.
That have, like, because this is yours. I mean, I'm sorry we left it like this for you. My deepest apologies. But it's so true. So you really do seem to have, like, an exuberance and a belief in this that is, so necessary. All right, somebody just got $26 for that.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
All right. Give your website again while I'm looking at the questions.
So my website, if people want to volunteer, it is or donate money, you could visit mejiaforcongress.com. It's MEJIA, the number 4, then congress.com. So mejiaforcongress.com. And we're asking people, since we only have 48 days left and we don't have a bunch of money to do TV ads and billboards and send a lot of mailers, is if you could donate 1 hour of your time a day to make calls from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, or on the weekends from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And if you put 1 hour a day and you get 8 supporters or 5 supporters in that 1 hour, I guarantee you we're going to win, because that's how we ended up being 6th place on this biased consulting firm already, because when they call people already knew about us, and we're like the least amount of money raised campaign. So if you could help us out, we could seriously win this grassroots campaign, and we're going to just make history in the United States.
Well, I'm really glad that you came on the show. Is there any one issue that you have a lot of passion for, that like burns within you, that's that's got a special place in your heart?
Yeah, I'd say the biggest issue, growing up is it's poverty. And, I hate seeing people struggle just to put food on the table, just to pay their rent, or getting health insurance. It doesn't make sense to me. As the wealthiest country on earth, we could do that. Growing up, when I would see like a homeless person sitting on the sidewalk, I'd ask my mom, like, hey mom, can I have some money to give this to this person? And that always resonated with me, even to this day. Like when I go out to Skid Row, me and our community service group, we go out there and we give food to them, and they're just regular people, and they either couldn't afford a place to live, or they got priced out of their homes, or they have mental health issues, and they sort of just kick them to the curb. And in Skid Row, within a mile radius, there's 25,000 people living there, and it kills me, talking to them, because they're not scary. They could have a conversation with you, and they're really thankful. Like one of them gave me a hug, because he said no one comes out here and no one visits us. And I think that our country should be measured based on how it treats its most vulnerable people, not on how much money we spend on the military, or how much, tax breaks we could give. I think we sort of need to change our mentality as a nation, not only in our government, but as a people, So that's what I'm passionate about, just helping the less fortunate, and especially the most vulnerable, which are those living on the streets. And it's sad because there are a lot of children there too. So we'll be out there again in next week, actually, to be in Skid Row. So yeah, that's what I'm passionate about.
Okay, well that's a beautiful thing to be passionate about. All right, last question on the military-industrial complex and all these wars of choice that we've been fighting for decades at this point. What are your thoughts on that? What do you think needs to be done so that we get any kind of a peace movement again? Because really, the last shreds of the anti-war movement died under Obama. And so we really haven't had, and the message has been, which is very powerful, what you're saying, because people are, half the country's poor, half the country makes $30,000 or less a year. And, it's, so it's been really big domestically, but we do have this crisis of, spending all our treasury on these wars of choice and the immorality of that. So what are your thoughts on that issue?
Well, first of all, half of our discretionary budget goes to funding these wars. Literally, the Fed is funding these wars that we don't need to be in. We spent $6 trillion in Iraq and Afghanistan, $6 trillion, and I just want somebody just wants $10,000. It just mind boggles me on how we could spend so much money and be involved in what we're bombing 7 countries right now, right? It makes no sense, and we sort of need to have that movement like they did in Vietnam or in the beginning of Iraq, where they had the anti-war movement, the peace movements. I think Tulsi Gabbard actually tweeted that we need to have the same amount of force and the same amount of passion when it comes to these wars that are now in Syria and Libya and still in Iraq and Afghanistan. And I think we could start that. That's a good idea. Maybe we'll do a rally in LA in 2 weeks, doing an anti-war protest, because it happened underneath the Democrats, it was still happening, but we didn't do anything about it. But now everything changes once, who's in power, depending. So that's sort of how I feel about the military-industrial complex. I think we should stop that spending and stop regime change, because it only creates worse situations where, like, refugees, where we're bombing these countries and then they just want to find a place to live, and then we end up trying to ban them, for 90 days. So it's, you have to, like, look at the whole picture. That's how I see everything. So
all right, well, we have been joined with Kenneth. I can't remember your name. I'm so sorry. It's been a long time. Mejia. Okay, slap me, everybody. Slap me. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for putting yourself in the middle of this. If you want to come back on the show and you want to update us on how it's going, you're welcome to come back. People are giving you a lot of great feedback on the comments, so you can, read the thread. They have a lot of suggestions, too. They're very smart, so sometimes it might be worth just taking a look. And a lot of people look like they're volunteering and giving money. So thank you so much for coming on. And you guys, I will put the website up and some links so that you know where to go, you know where to donate. And I'll be back with you guys soon, all right? As always, Debbie, Sane Progressive. Peace out.